Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "A person's worth is measured by their character, not by the external conditions they face." In today's arduous world, men are navigating new roles and significant cultural changes. Traditional guidance from past generations doesn't provide much direction for modern challenges such as family dynamics, relationships, work-life balance, and the evolving role of men. Prevailing norms once taken for granted have dissipated like mist. Men hunger for anchoring wisdom to navigate life. For many, each new dawn brings waves of doubt, uncertainty around fulfilling ideals of masculinity and achieving external emblems of success. Yet, the true markers of a purposeful life lie deeper than status or wealth. True resilience doesn't stem from outward earnings, but inward self-mastery. This wisdom permeates the centuries-old Stoic philosophy, centered on inner strength, courage, and self-control. Stoicism teaches us principles of rationality, such as differentiating what is in your control or not and overcoming destructive emotions through reason. Founded in a radically different period of human civilization, over 2,300 years ago in ancient Greece, Stoicism's timeless insights resonate even more loudly today. The diverse teachings from Stoic thinkers such as Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus had one thing in common: to help us live a good life by cultivating resilience, whatever obstacles life throws at us. In the Stoic school of thought, challenges are inevitable, be they illness, grief, failure, or injustice. True strength comes from staying focused on what we can control, our thoughts, feelings, actions, and reactions, while accepting what we cannot. Yes, external events are outside your control, but your judgments, perceptions, and actions remain completely within your power. Herein lies your freedom and ability to transform obstacles into opportunities. During our exploration, I invite you to deeply reflect on this dichotomy. At any moment, ask yourself, what here is within my power? What is outside my influence? Knowing your energy is best spent understanding and acting on the former. Today, our journey will take us through time-tested Stoic principles that can empower you to find stability amid life's inevitable chaos. You'll learn how these ancient teachings speak directly to the 10 most common contemporary struggles men face today, illuminating new perspectives and practical techniques for responding with wisdom. We will cover everything from cultivating emotional resilience despite setbacks, to balancing career ambitions with purpose, to overcoming toxic assumptions around masculinity, integrating philosophical contemplation with daily practices to grow character strengths. Each chapter is designed to be its own Stoic meditation, but I promise you a full transformation of the mind throughout the entire video. At times, the truths uncovered may prove difficult, but trust me, seen through the lens of Stoic thought, obstacles become opportunities. Hardships call us to embody courage. Will you join me? Let our quest in search of the good life begin. Stay with us to the end, as this journey promises not just knowledge but an opportunity for deep self-reflection and transformation. Our first step confronts the crux of men's issues today. We are going to the source of men's challenges. I speak of a masculinity suffocated by both history and modern society. Gender stereotypes. From an early age, society conditions boys with restrictive notions of proper masculine conduct, emotion suppression, aggressive competitiveness, and detached self-reliance chief among them. These rules for being a man encode deeply, constructing psychological prisons far more than pathways towards purpose and fulfillment for many. Common messages say real men must act tough, hide vulnerability, prioritize work over relationships, love action films but not romance novels. The list goes on. At the same time, the concept of patriarchy has been rejected and looked down upon. Men grapple with conflicting expectations, embracing outdated scripts of dominance and emotional restraint, while also seeking paths to emotional intelligence and externalizing feelings. Essentially, men are receiving conflicting messages, asking them to separate their vulnerability from the courage needed to still act like men. As a result, countless men feel immense pressure to conform to these unrealistic expectations. And if you differ even slightly from these limiting stereotypes, you will yourself experiencing feelings of shame and inadequacy. Many then silence their true selves just to fit in, causing deeper inner turmoil. What a sad contradiction. The truth is, human personalities and talents are far more diverse and dynamic than such simplistic gender boxes. Unlike today's narrow conventions, ancient Stoic thinkers demonstrated that virtues like courage, resilience, and wisdom come in diverse forms, not conforming to gender expectations. So have we forgotten Socrates and Seneca taught female students as equals during eras that dismissed them? Marcus Aurelius ruled the vast Roman Empire while also openly writing poetry and studying philosophy, activities some today may wrongly associate with being more feminine. Seneca encouraged men to cry openly when grieving losses of loved ones and to experience other emotions freely, saying repressing natural feelings causes illness. Epictetus, born a slave, found refuge in literature, eventually became one of history's most influential philosophers. He taught that external circumstances matter less than how we perceive them, saying men are disturbed not by things but by the view which they take of them. Across eras, these Stoic thinkers stayed grounded in reason, not trends. They realized each person discovers fulfillment by knowing their unique thoughts, talents, and interests, not boxes society might impose through inherited prejudice. The truth is, nowadays, most figures rejecting masculinity are often trapped themselves in predefined ways of behaving or acting. An ambitious female executive may reject the patriarchy, while imposing her dominance over others, which propagates the very tenets of what she calls toxic masculinity. But when facing polarizing opinions and a restrictive notion of roles, men can find inner peace and equanimity in Stoicism. The first step applying Stoic mentality takes noticing when we make false assumptions that interests, emotions, or behaviors are off limits or taboo for men. Often these self-limiting inner critics echo outdated external gender biases claiming real men must always seem dominant, aggressive, and immune to pain or sensitivity. Stoicism rejects herd opinions. As Marcus Aurelius said, the object in life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. Once we consciously challenge the external and internalized gatekeepers judging acceptable manliness rules, we open ourselves up to pursuing talents that we previously avoided out of fear of judgment but which speak authentically to our true selves. Start examining these expectations, asking, who exactly benefits from such conformity? Does believing that men must always appear invincible or tough help me live more freely and fully aligned with my values? Or does it restrict self-expression out of fear of shame when I desire to explore softer emotions or unfamiliar interests that feel fulfilling? Make a list of any secret dreams, hobbies, or ways of expressing yourself that appeal naturally, even if considered less conventional for men. Perhaps painting, volunteering, or even caring for animals and children appeal to you, but these vocations got suppressed before by unhealthy messaging that feminine inclinations made you less manly. Nurturing roles like coaching, counseling, or nursing are genderless, but often dismissed by those saying guys shouldn't show empathy openly. So start experimenting with any suppressed talents that ignite forgotten passion. In the words of Seneca, life is like a play. It's not the length but the excellence of the acting that matters. Every day, recognize how you can consciously defy internalized stereotypes to live in alignment with your values and convictions. Ask yourself, are you exemplifying persona more than personhood? Expose the false authorities that induce fear and parade as legitimate. Uphold your integrity, enduring the tests of time, advancing ever upward. Extend a hand to those on uncertain paths. Cease the fire within and reclaim your soul's sanctuary. Each small step dissolves past barriers built by false constructs, saying emotional vulnerability or non-macho interests are taboo for men. Seeking belonging and purpose is natural to every human being. As a matter of fact, an immense gift comes from courageously opening up in trusted company about ways we limit self-expression. The realization is that fitting societal gender ideals no longer serve our wholeness. Simply verbalizing opinions that constrained us starts revoking their false power. That's what friends are for. By abandoning the masks of masculine invincibility that hurt more than protect, you open yourself to a new you, or maybe the best version of you. So drop the armor, drop the shield, and learn to accept and appreciate your inner truths without judgment. By exposing masculine cliches that sabotage self-realization, Stoicism frees men from confining gender tropes. You were not placed on this earth to continually prove manliness to a culture clinging to outdated or unrealistic ideals. Forge your own path, not guided by stereotypes of strength, but grounded in purpose and vulnerability courageously expressed. American philosopher Henry David Thoreau once wrote, It's never too late to give up our prejudices. And although as men, we unconsciously inherit social biases, we have power over our own identity. Remember that in each moment there's the power to break free from harmful masculine norms. And to those who resist the evolution of manhood, show empathy and keep the dialogue open. Listen to their struggles with gender roles and offer advice from your perspective. Share stories of men who pursued their passions and changed the world. Concrete examples of men who defied or defy the preconceived codes of manliness and never restricted themselves to self-expression, will speak louder than subjective opinions. And there are many examples of such men. They teach us that by reconnecting with our feelings compassionately, the choice emerges to unmask beyond roles if we dare. So, will you man up and be you? Emotional expression. Expressing emotions openly and constructively is central to our ability to feeling alive. However, toxic societal norms around masculinity pressure men to suppress vulnerable feelings like sadness, insecurity, or grief. The cultural scripts around masculinity stand for decision-making, leadership, and emotional control, framing sensitivity as weakness. But when it comes to our mind, the real weakness is the absolute refusal and denial of inevitable weaknesses, leading to unresolved feelings and mental exhaustion. In most cultures, being strong conjures images of steadfast power, the warrior staying calm and composed amidst flaming chaos. Yet beneath that facade of impenetrable armor lurks unease. As pioneering psychologist Dr. Ronald Levant, who launched the field of psychology of men and masculinity, explains, even the most traditionally macho guys feel pain and heartbreak. The facade of machismo just masks inner scars etched from inability to healthily process sadness, hurt, or disappointment. Men today continue to see scars earned in combat, in effort, in distress as a symbol of honor. But when healthy emotional outlets are absent, human feelings accumulate and turn septic over time. Behind veneers of hardened impenetrability lurks profound loneliness and distress. The numbers speak volume. Men commit suicide at nearly 4 times the rate of women, with over 70,000 American men ending lives yearly. So let's unravel these destructive ideas that big boys don't cry and explore techniques men can use to develop emotional fluency without shame. From a very young age, societal conditioning around male invincibility burdens men with expectations to act tough, aggressive, and detached emotionally. Displays of tenderness or sensitivity get shamed. To avoid bullying, men numb entire spectrums of normal human emotion early on, and soon that suppressing becomes instinctual habit. Explosive feelings that are suppressed for too long eventually lead to implosions, such as uncontrollable anger and substance abuse. This is an uncomfortable reality, but because of societal pressure, many men lack the skills and spaces for processing emotions in healthy ways. And because men lack the emotional vocabulary around their feelings, they struggle to communicate authentically about needs and challenges. Over time, this barrier fosters resentment, emotional distance, and dissolution of intimacy. In a romantic relationship, their partner wearies from repeatedly hitting emotional walls, or both parts end up flying into unexpected rages from buried wounds. Clearly, the restrictive masculine ideals that demand men to suppress normal emotions lead to mountains of repressed hurt. Stoicism, which focuses on self-mastery, offers a healthier alternative. Unlike macho posturing, Stoicism doesn't demand emotionlessness. It recognizes value in our entire human experience: joy, sadness, anger, grief. None denied or deemed unacceptable. The practice is responding skillfully to all feelings using wisdom and discernment, allowing emotions to surface, then guide, not incapacitate us. It's about neither avoiding emotional wounds nor letting every passing impulse take control. In the wise and amused words of Seneca, what need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. This protects against destructive repression that happens when dismissing entire emotions as bad or irrational without a nuanced evaluation. Such wholesome rejection festers inside until erupting unpredictably. Contrarily, many studies have revealed that men who are comfortable discussing emotions openly develop better relationships and leadership presence. Stoicism champions an honest appraisal of our emotional landscape so we can nurture feelings that enrich our lives and skillfully process the ones leading to harm. Contrary to common belief, Stoic philosophers never advised against emotions. They promoted a balanced approach to them for lasting well-being, allowing room for emotional states inspired by truth, wisdom, courage, and justice. This equilibrium is maintained calmly, especially when facing obstacles. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break." In other words, while we cannot control external events that may trigger painful emotions, you retain power over your internal assessments about upsetting occurrences. The Stoics acknowledge the natural ebb and flow of emotions, but aim to provide tools to avoid becoming their captive. How did they self-regulate, you may ask? Here are the key practices Stoic philosophers use to cultivate greater emotional awareness and healthy expression. First, become observers of your emotional responses. Ask yourself what past experiences or beliefs are influencing my emotional reaction. Without blame, notice if these feelings conflict with false masculine ideals. Accept all inner experiences are normal human reactions, regardless of gender and expectations. Then remember, we are but the creators of our emotions. Stoic philosophers studied emotions in the context of stimulus and response, reinforced there's always a choice in this in-between, echoing Epictetus, who wisely said, "No one has the power to make you feel anything. Emotions are your own creation." Start naming the emotions that emerge during challenges, and seek to understand how the narratives you create around these emotions can influence their impact on your own well-being. This awareness will allow you to access a sense of self-mastery. Remember Epictetus' wise words: "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." So stop being reactive and stop responding impulsively. Create a space that allows you to distinguish between the raw sensations you feel, their meanings, and then their importance. Ask yourself, will this event still impact me in a day, month, year? If largely insignificant in the long term, is my current emotional intensity justified? By becoming observers rather than judges of our emotions without judgment, we stop inflicting self-harm from repression. Those flaunting macho credentials protesting this type of self-work would have ironically most to gain. As pioneering psychologist Carl Jung said, "The most powerful person in the world is the one who is able to be most vulnerable." As a next step, it is helpful to expand your emotional vocabulary. Limited lexicon prevents accurately articulating our emotional reality, causing more repression. Learn the nuanced definitions across terms you might be substituting to one another. For instance, do disappointed, devastated, or resentful evoke the same intensity? Perhaps this feeling might simply be angry or sad. Just like Marcus Aurelius, read philosophical texts, poems, and literary fiction to build fluency. Practice journaling, privately chronicling emotions and events without inner critic or censor. When you maintain a reflective journal, you can periodically review destructive patterns and unhealthy repression around certain feelings. Of course, consider seeking counsel from others and therapy if self-help doesn't cut it. Guided vulnerability in safe company helps ease repression as it promotes confidence to open up at large. But beware impulsive emotional dumping without discretion. Responsibly process hurt before expecting others to understand your pain and problems, unless, of course, you're paying them to do so. Most importantly, learn to align yourself emotionally with others. The path of healthy emotional alignment promises richer relationships, reduced stress, and more adaptive lives beyond confining gender roles and superficial masculine ideals. Confront and share the burden of your demons with supportive friends, families, and communities. Research indicates that openly sharing common struggles deepens connections more than individual triumphs alone. So, reclaiming a healthy and mature relationship with your emotions is crucial to finding meaning. You can empower yourself by challenging oppressive norms, by learning how to navigate both pain and joy at the same speed, and embracing vulnerability with those who you can trust. Remember, emotional resilience is like a muscle. It will grow stronger through training. Be courageous, recognize sensations, accept discomfort, and strengthen mindfulness towards all states. When tough circumstances force men to hide their true selves in environments that dislike sensitivity, the solution is to patiently reconnect with the truth inside them. Expression, once finally set free, feels like a relieving exhalation. Managing stress. Philosopher King Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." His timeless wisdom echoes deep in addressing the vicious predator that is stress. Imagine chronic unmanaged stress like a silent snake tightening its grip on you, gradually suffocating you. It tenses muscles, increases anxiety, disrupts sleep, clouds clear thinking, and drains the joys of life. While some degree of external pressures may prove inevitable, excessive or sustained stress sabotages physical and psychological well-being. Men live in a perpetual pressure cooker bombarded by news, digital notifications, unrealistic expectations and responsibilities that breed chronic anxiety. Consequently, cases of digestive disorders, insomnia, and hypertension have skyrocketed alongside more dangerous second effects, such as substance addiction and burnout. The long-term effects are significant: declining performance at work, strained family relationships, losing our sense of purpose and clarity. Ultimately, mental health struggles impact our body, and physical damage ensues. Anxiety about the future contributes greatly to this stress epidemic. In the words of Seneca, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today." By hijacking attention onto manufactured urgency, stress undermines discerning highest priorities. We become trapped into reacting, never harnessing agency to channel efforts toward purposeful ends. To cope, men turn to addictive behaviors as a temporary relief. These include alcohol, drugs, porn, and other thrilling sensations. This only exacerbates the issue. The snake of stress tightens further, leading to heightened stress hormones and a desperate yearning for inner peace. It is clear that our modern society does not provide effective tools for men to manage their stress in a healthy way. So let's explore how the ancient Stoic masters dealt with their stress and anxiety. These philosophers endured illness, war, and loss while exemplifying resilience. Perhaps their worldview in the face of adversity can offer valuable insights and even healing. At their core, the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus insisted on prudence to analyze circumstances accurately without self-defeating exaggeration or dramatization. It's truth that, when we are stressed out, we often catastrophize impending doom or helplessness, despite the options remaining. This compounds panic and anxiety unnecessarily by neglecting facts. Seneca remarked, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." By training your attention on your highest locus of control, even amidst swirling chaos, you can retain access to inner stillness from which wise action emerges. Another profoundly impactful exercise is pausing. Mindfully pausing helps separate unrealistic projections about the future versus actual present realities. Start by listing details calmly, considering, how severe is this issue objectively on a scale of 1 to 10? Then ask yourself, am I assuming an exaggerated worst-case scenario without evidence? Am I ignoring strengths and talents that can be used to get out of this situation? Does my emotion match true weight of the obstacle? Such Socratic self-questioning can help you distinguish emotional spin from actual circumstances. This discernment relieves pressure and centers priorities, otherwise drowned by a flood of anxiety, dread, and denial. The Stoics pioneered what we call today cognitive behavioral therapy, devising psychological techniques to leverage reason, resilience, and responsibility consciously. Now, it's in your power to normalize regular check-ins with yourself, accurately evaluating disturbances without magnifying your perceived chaos. Epictetus once said, "It is not the things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those things." By consciously cataloging aspects of your life within versus beyond your influence, you will more easily weigh out what's needed, acceptance or constructive action. For instance, let's say 2 colleagues passed over your promotion, triggering feelings of injustice, resentment, and fear. Choose to pause and process any reactive emotions before responding to avoid escalation. Then, re-examine judiciously. Did decision depend wholly on your performance? If yes, then obtain clear feedback for improvement with self-compassion. If not, then practice radical self-acceptance and redirect energy positively to excel at current tasks despite this setback. Such inner work reduces suffering, upholding self-control whatever life throws at you. It teaches you endurance, ethics, and excellence. Each small step steadies us into rocks that remain unmoved by waves, gradually smoothing all rough edges. Echoing Marcus Aurelius again, be like the promontory against which the waves continually break. Confidence grows stronger, providing a calm assurance that comes from nurturing your inner strength. Challenges will seem less intimidating, reframed as feedback or lessons, rather than personal attacks shattering your self-worth. Not a Stoic, but certainly a wise man, Albert Einstein reminded us, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Embracing this growth mindset means taking lessons from apparent failures and creatively finding alternative paths, which might in fact be more aligned with your core priorities and initial life plans. Let mistakes become valuable teachers, not harsh critiques. Based on your chosen perspective of things, suffering becomes optional, independent of external conditions. The key is realizing that the power to react skillfully is always within us. Stress depends on the stories we tell ourselves, whether we see things negatively or positively. So remember to gently pause ongoing busyness when you feel overwhelmed. Consciously observe the cascade of bustling thoughts, emotions, and body sensations. Calming the turbulent waters of the mind is an effective remedy for managing worries, reflecting on the bigger picture, and staying anchored in the pursuit of meaningful goals without succumbing to destructive impatience. Before blaming external circumstances alone, adjust what truly remains under your authority and what you can self-regulate. You can set resolute boundaries with unreasonable workplace and family demands. You can stop comparing yourself to others. You can stop feeling inferior to your peers. Such voluntary simplicity promises peace, letting go of stressful competitions. When you address your authentic needs, unlike the draining pursuit of status or conformity that leads to exhaustion, you find the strength to remotivate yourself. Challenges become opportunities, revealing hidden wisdom amid adversity. With persistent perseverance and a trust in the illusion of time, we turn stress from an enemy into an ally, extracting healing sweetness from what was once considered poisonous. Epictetus wisely said, "It is not things themselves that trouble us, but our opinions about things." As you understand, dedicating moments for self-regulation is as important as protecting your time to avoid stress in the first place. Because we overcommit, because we can't say no and set clear boundaries, stress takes over quickly. As Seneca observed, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Building resilience is a time investment. So give yourself time to nurture your inner self. Just like a sturdy oak withstands storms that topple lesser trees, we can only root our inner selves by anchoring in consciousness. So evaluate your daily pace. What conditions actively deplete your energy? What are you neglecting that you need for calmness and composure? Do packed schedules and attempting perfectionism benefit you? What is urgent versus imaginary? The habit of trying to please others, proving your worth, or avoiding disapproval lead to social anxieties. By not getting overly caught up in each moment of stress, you create space for a calm response, distinguishing yourself as a master of non-reaction. Ancient Stoic teachings, designed to counter today's hectic lifestyles and information overload, defend intrinsic self-worth over external validation. In their spirit of acceptance, acknowledge that stress is now an unavoidable part of daily life. Reflect each evening by identifying stressors, understanding what you can or cannot control, responding strategically, and making plans to reduce anxieties. Break free from perfectionism and the trap of comparison. Focus on contributing without depleting your soul's purpose or physical energy. Relationship dynamics. Relationships today face unprecedented shifts. The expansion of gender roles, social media, and even porn has created unrealistic expectations on both sides. As the media continually feed new standards of relationships, traditional paradigms of male breadwinners and female homemakers are dissolving. Romantic partnerships now span a spectrum. Some thrive on traditional dynamics with men leading financially and women managing homes. In this scenario, outdated masculine norms persist, conveying that displaying emotion exposes weakness, while interdependence signals failure. For others, financial and educational parity between genders is the new norm, with women's autonomy growing outside motherhood. Navigating these expectations has sparked immense debate and turmoil, and violently resisting this change can provoke conflict, forcing square pegs in round holes. As you can see, mixed messaging remains both socially and institutionally, often leading to entitlement and dissatisfaction. Amidst these shifts, many men feel disoriented. social scripts they internalized about household leadership, providing financially or limited emotional expression, clash with emergent relationship needs valuing vulnerability and equality. With spheres of authority and norms in the process of recalibration, relationships grow complex. Power struggles emerge regarding decision-making, household responsibilities, parenting styles, and intimacy needs. In the context of a romantic relationship or marriage, we do need to dig deeper to understand these shifting dynamics. As the saying goes, a true friend is a mirror to our soul. It's true when we are with our partner, we see hidden parts of ourselves reflected in their eyes, revealing areas where we need to grow. The relationship acts as a magnifying glass, highlighting aspects of ourselves that need attention and expansion. It brings attention to our limitations, our blind spots. These can be complex feelings in a world where men were raised to conceal their weaknesses. And without the right communication tools, natural tensions arise between masculine and feminine energies, each with powerful charges. Without emotional understanding, the respective needs of each partner are unmet, which results in criticism, withdrawal, and unsuccessful attempts to force partners into specific roles. So it's crucial to skillfully navigate these inner forces to avoid explosive currents that may overwhelm both parts. The first piece of wisdom Seneca teaches us here is that the greatest remedy for anger is delay. The Stoics considered feelings of anger or hurt as fundamentally irrational, rather than objectively valid analysis of situations that should dictate reactions. Why? Because these feelings are temporary. By not taking our emotional states too seriously or personally identifying with them, we can evaluate conflicts more rationally before responding. Next time a conflict arises in your relationship, stop and think. Embrace this conflict as an opportunity, not a threat, and use it as a platform to openly share deep-seated needs and hopes. Find the courage to pause the habitual reaction, creating a space for mutual understanding and respect. Calmly engage with empathy and vulnerability, transforming knots into manageable strands beyond power struggles. This will allow you to work together, break down barriers, untangle misunderstandings, and reframe the dynamics. Most of the time, resolution isn't about fixing the problems that are being pinpointed, but rather creating a common ground by matching overlooked pieces together. We soon realize emotions fail to permanently describe universal truths. Just because we feel upset, frightened, or jealous does not mean actual present or future danger exists. According to Epictetus, it is people who are at fault for being disturbed and set in turmoil, not things themselves. A strong and lasting partnership should be built on this understanding, recognizing the love and commitment beneath surface-level differences. What binds a couple forever isn't sex or money or whatever TikTok tells you it is, but a shared sense of purpose and commitment that can withstand any setback. This distinction matters, helping us recognize where agency exists, first and foremost, over our own reasoned responses, rather than trying to control another. As Stoics practice non-attachment to their desired outcome, I also invite you to detach and nurture equanimity when you are faced with a partner's free will to journey along their own personal path, which may not always align with your destination. Ultimately, managing healthy relationships starts with the healing we do within ourselves. Stoic philosophy provide valuable tools here as well. First, carefully monitor self-talk and avoid accusatory language when communicating during conflicts. Rather than, "You hurt me when," try, "I became upset when." This phrasing focuses on taking personal ownership over internal reactions which we control, rather than blaming external parties. Moving forward, propose solutions rather than accusations. Second, learn how to self-reflect and make it a daily habit. Every Sunday, spend 10 minutes asking yourself thoughtful and non-self-flagellating questions about your recent behaviors and relationship choices. Could you have responded with greater empathy, care, understanding, or restraint to de-escalate tension? What can you learn for next time about your triggers? Knowing how and why we react is key, and so is recognizing when we project our feelings onto the other. This type of introspection can help you develop deep mindfulness around your part of responsibility, rather than critiquing your partner constantly. So refrain from acting with volatility and apply reason to protect your relationship. By focusing your attention internally, rather than seeking to control or condemn what lies beyond your jurisdiction, You intentionally build resilience, withstanding any gaps in communication and intimacy. Remember, you cannot control your partner, but you work to break down barriers by showing vulnerability and gratitude. And that, my friends, is true intimacy. Not the momentary satisfactions of sex, but turning personal challenges into a human experience that is shared and supportive. While all suffering stems from unmet needs, everyone longs for undisturbed happiness and authentic connections. So instead of trying to control your partner out of inner fragility, find a balance between self-expression and confident listening. Create a space where assumptions, fixed roles, and unconscious biases can openly be questioned. Communicate courageously. If visions align, wonderful. If not, part with compassion. Clarity of personal values guides relationships, not the other way. At its core, Stoicism will always favor self-reliance over codependence. Your wholeness shouldn't be diminished by a breakup or divorce. You matter as a person despite of status. Know your self-worth beyond external labels. This practice of non-attachment will paradoxically bring you closer and nurture intimacy, since you are together by choice, not neediness or fear. So next time a conflict arises, find the discipline to think before you act. Seek to understand different perspectives and opinions, as enraging as they can be to you. Do not let your emotions control you. Prioritize compassion over pride. Listen, learn, endure, and of course, be the judge of how necessary it is for you to pursue not only this conversation, but the relationship itself. Every relationship demands work, especially the relationship you have with yourself. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." So, which relationship will you decide to polish? Now we turn our attention from personal relationships to professional dynamics. Our next topic touches upon the pursuit of status and the new definition of success for men. Stay tuned. Work-life balance. Nowadays, many men struggle to balance busy careers with personal needs. Phrases like rise and grind glorify overwork and sleep deprivation as the necessary dues to pay for status or wealth. Working excessive hours gets framed as a competitive advantage rather than unsustainable imbalance requiring boundaries. This leaves little time for family, friends, or even basic self-care. Society also puts lots of pressure on income as the only definition of success. Men constantly chase material success over personal and relational investment, leaving their relationships strained. Outdated expectations still link a man's worth to external wealth and professional status, pressuring him to conform rather than follow his inner purpose. In this relentless pursuit of external validation through job promotions and accumulating professional achievements, men paradoxically experience emptiness as their lives narrow around productivity alone. They feel guilty taking vacations or leaving office on time. They also feel guilty for not being present at home. In both overt and covert ways, systems reinforce that material returns should dominate priorities over self-care, community, or spiritual nourishment. So let me ask you, what do riches mean if our personal relationships are impoverished? Modern leadership expectations have reinforced these themes. The solitary, heroic, self-made entrepreneur disrupting entire industries through relentless drive, or the corporate executive climbing the ladder by managing up an abusive, hierarchical structure. While societal standards are evolving gradually, old paradigms that are financially and psychologically corrupt still exert influence. The relentless pursuit of achievement demands spiritual sacrifices such as office politics, work betrayals, and heightened anxiety, extracting a high cost from your inner serenity. It's not only mentally and morally taxing, it's dangerously impact your health, leading to chronic stress and burnout. Ever heard of the term corporate psychopaths? Extreme mental and emotional fatigue push people into corners they sometimes are unable to manage themselves. Tragically, repeated stressors like work toxicity and competitiveness can turn good managers into creatures completely emptied of emotions. The spiraling continues until a crisis forces a radical renewal. But when these behaviors are encouraged by your work environment, and your success in this environment takes the spotlight, your virtue dwindles. Your true essence fades behind the importance placed on appearances. Ultimately, it changes you in a different person with a confused sense of life purpose. So wow, can Stoic teachings help us find balance and contentment amidst these pressures? The Stoics were all about living in harmony with nature, and nature tells us that all creatures need rest to recharge. Trees go dormant in winter to recover strength. Animals hibernate for their own survival. Yet men drive themselves to exhaustion for achieving status. This unnatural rhythm can only affect our health and relationships deeply. Stoicism says happiness comes from inner peace and character growth, not chasing external goals like money or fame. These factors depend on other people. They are out of our control. As such, you should never let others decide your worth. To find our way home, we must critically assess why we only consider as success and fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Are our ambitions shaped mostly by parental expectations, peer competition, and ego? Are we fulfilled, contributing to society, or only seeking external validation through fleeting wealth and acclaim? Clarity of intent is crucial for building the resilience needed to change direction. Stoic teachings in balancing modern work-life realities? First, focus on what matters. Simply put, when get caught up in office politics and career ambitions, we lose touch with what matters most. Spending time with those who love us, pursuing passions that give meaning, and building our identity outside of work. So, contextualize professional pursuits as only one aspect of your existence. Stoicism sits a foundational pillar that we should nurture and tend to all aspects of our lives harmoniously, not just one. Help your mind distinguish the differences between personal growth and salary or job titles, compartmentalizing work in context of total life priorities. Reflect regularly. Does your current work align with your values or prevent pursuing them? Do you really need more money or responsibilities? While ambition can be a good thing, if unchecked, it can also become your worst enemy. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little that is poor, but the one who hankers after more." If your career ambitions are tied to the pursuit of wealth, perhaps there are other ways to live a happier life within your means. Consider downsizing expenses. Embrace a minimalistic lifestyle so retirement can become possible earlier in life. Through this exercise, you will start setting healthy boundaries, first to your own expectations of life, and then to how much your job should influence your life. Push boundaries further. Designate specific work hours at home if necessary, reclaiming your sacred sanctuary. Digital minimalism provides significant freedom too. Establish technology curfews by turning off notifications outside designated work hours. Set email vacation auto-replies when off. Protect your time for non-negotiable priorities like family meals, dates, sleep, meditation, or exercise. Learn to say no to non-essential asks, regaining control over what is important both professionally and personally. You see, when you make the time to focus on your personal development, hidden or forgotten talents emerge beyond the work you perform in the office, beyond what you may perceive as your identity in the moment. You are no longer bound to a professional status, and you have space for exploring your full potential. When your energy is aligned, trust me, the light you radiate shines brighter than any resume. Setting boundaries mean you also need to understand your limits. If your job is taking a toll on your well-being, think about changing to a career that aligns better with your needs and aspirations, even if it's less prestigious. Remember, the Stoic lens provides independence from scripts fixating on professional status or comparing to others' paths. You should always consider taking a cut on your pay if it means you will safeguard your inner peace as a result. You should define success by your strength of character, maintaining work-life balance and peace of mind over the sirens of status. Every decision can influence your path, whether to be used for exploitative agendas or to align with the values you believe in. This doesn't mean complete indifference to financial prosperity, rather putting external goals in context of total well-being across body, connections, spirit. If a job prevents nurturing these, change course. It isn't a competition. Your worth isn't decided by productivity or glory in the office, but the contentment drawn from entirely aspects of life. That includes rest and relationships too. Use this mindset to make needed revisions. Soon you'll master the art of effortless flow between pouring passion into meaningful work and refueling your spirit with equal devotion. Now, we transition to fatherhood. The modern father is at a crossroads, demanding new skills while refuting unquestioned and outdated assumptions. Fatherhood. Expectations. The new social rules about how men should parent have added a considerable amount of expectations. Pictures in media show happy fathers easily balancing job and family time. But reality is often exhausting for real dads. Parenthood certainly brings immense joys, but immense responsibilities too. Left with no options but overperforming in all aspects of life, men feel they can't talk openly about their doubts and fears as fathers because of the stigma around vulnerability. Juggling everything perfectly is literally impossible. So men feel constant guilt and anxiety because they can never fully be present, either at home or work. And in the rare moments they can be, they are unsure if they're doing things right. So how can Stoicism provide peace and direction to overwhelmed modern fathers? Stoics understood the wisdom in accepting life's realities before fighting them. Make peace with what we can control and cannot control, such as being perfect fathers, is the first step. Trying to control everything only hurts our self-worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not try to do everything at once by fits and starts. Do it calmly, step after step." Today, fathers struggle in silence, trying to live up to standards of others. Society expects fathers to be emotionally present, help with household chores, and actively participate in raising their kids, in addition to support their family financially. The burden can be heavy, and many men struggle to adapt to this new role, especially without guidance from older generations who followed more traditional family models. These new emotional expectations, along with the pressure to climb the career ladder as the breadwinner, can weigh heavily. Men feel pressure to be both stable and dependable, like unwavering stars role models. Juggling everything perfectly is literally impossible. So men feel constant guilt and anxiety because they can never fully be present, either at home or work. And in the rare moments they can be, they're unsure if they're doing things right. So how can Stoicism provide peace and direction to overwhelmed modern fathers? Stoics understood the wisdom in accepting life's realities before fighting them. Make peace with what we can control and cannot control, such as being perfect fathers, is the first step. Trying to control everything only hurts our self-worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not try to do everything at once by fits and starts. Do it calmly, step after step." So where to start? Stoicism gives fathers 3 key ideas. First, let go of chasing picture-perfect homes set by media or others. This isn't reality. Refocus on what you can do, what's in your power. For instance, being more patient and more present with your kids. Seneca once said, "Life is like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters." Carve out quality time and cherish every little moment with your children. Be attentive, listen actively to their feelings, support their interests, and celebrate the small achievements. You will find joy in these precious moments. Kids grow fast, and you should not assume special moments like these can wait after chasing your career prospects. Stoicism teaches us about the impermanence of things. Everything is temporary, so be present for your child. Always ask yourself, am I dedicating enough one-on-one time to truly know them? Are you really here for them? Seneca had a simple observation. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. You can make each of these moments count in your children's education. More than formal teaching, a father's lived demonstration of integrity and resilience teaches children important values. Children learn values best when they see love in action rather than just hearing about it. By embodying this approach, fathers become guides for a more aware generation that can overcome old limitations. Seneca encapsulated this by discussing those who remain followers of philosophers without applying their own wisdom. Stoic philosophy, like a father's ethical compass, is a guide, not a dogma, and requires reason and wisdom to apply to life. He said, "It is disgraceful that a man who is old or is in sight of old age should have a wisdom deriving solely from his notebook." So ask yourself, how am I role modeling the behaviors and values I hope to instill around conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and respectful partnership? With that said, never lose sight of your children's unique traits and perspectives. To be a good father is also accepting your child might have diametrically opposite opinions, views, and behaviors. By accepting and respecting what is unique to them, you can help them figure out how they can positively impact the world around them in their own way. Perhaps you parents did not offer you such a chance, but it is in your control to offer your children a different path. In the words of Seneca, we are in the habit of saying that it was not in our power to choose the parents who were allotted to us, that they were given to us by chance. But we can choose whose children we would like to be. Remember, success as a father isn't about external approval. It's about being authentic to yourself in how you raise your children. Trying to force impossible standards of role models upon you can only breed low self-esteem and misery. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." In parenting, no singular correct style exists, regardless of loudly pronounced perspectives. Protect your peace. Redefine outdated macho beliefs that strong fathers show no weakness. Be yourself when you need to be, always thinking of what your child needs, whether it's loving and comforting figure or a dose of disciplining. Mental health. Stigma. Across the ages, men have faced immense pressure to appear as strong leaders, concealing their inner storms even from close friends and family to avoid admitting vulnerability. Today, men continue to face huge pressure to act manly. Society still teaches that real men must seem strong, brave, and tough at all times, and cultural expectations continue to glorify extreme self-reliance, making seeking support seem like a moral defeat or an admission of cowardice. However, the alarming statistics in America, such as rising suicide rates and prolonged isolation, highlight the real risks of remaining silent about mental health. This taboo has plunged millions of men into suffering. Keeping up a fake mask of manliness eats men from the inside because it stops them from being honest with themselves. Just as untreated physical wounds can worsen and become infected, unexpressed distress can evolve into serious disorders. The sheer scale of this hidden crisis comes clearer with these glancing facts. Global male suicide rates 4 times higher than women, taking hundreds of thousands prematurely as inner demons overwhelm without outlets. Long before modern psychology, ancient Stoic insights recognized the damage from pretending that we don't experience pain or heartache. Stoicism teaches virtue, not invincibility. Let's see how applying this age-old wisdom can help you challenge old-fashioned messaging around normal emotions. Remember, there is absolutely no weakness in seeking tools to thrive mentally. Stoicism's healthy masculinity encourages to grow through vulnerability, not pointless toughness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The ideal man bears the accidents of life with dignity and grace." Stoics thought that by accepting the unwelcome guest of discomfort as a teacher, real breakthroughs happen. This acceptance is in your control. This strength comes from sharing your true feelings, not repressing. Stoic thinkers taught that it is in our human nature to suffer mentally and emotionally. It is not only normal but inevitable. Claiming otherwise would be totally unrealistic. For them, what truly mattered wasn't hiding struggles, but how we responded them. Stoics equated mental health with moral and rational strength. For example, while public speaking anxiety appears understandable, the Stoic philosophy tells you that it would be irrational to think this one awkward moment determines your total personal value. Our self-inflicted suffering stems not from circumstance alone, but how attached we are to the narratives we created around it. Therefore, Stoicism considers building psychological self-mastery as utterly foundational for unleashing your full potential. The Stoic key to mental health lies in mastering reactions despite uncontrolled factors. To do that, I recommend implementing a daily journaling ritual, through which you can explore, appreciate, and evolve your masculine energy and emotional expressions. Every day, reflect on your behaviors, experiences, thoughts, and feelings without judgment. Highlight observations of emotional denial or minimization that might be masking inner turmoil. Make note of any emerging self-criticism when demonstrating mental weakness. Reflect on how you can deviate from shame and suppression. With self-compassion, acknowledge your fundamental humanity while committing to personal improvement and transformation. Always frame your journaling process through a lens of heroic vulnerability, where points of distress become acts of courage, revealing your deeper purpose. Honor the process as battle, and take pride in these incremental victories of radical self-honesty. With the same courage, seek support. When feeling low or anxious, remember countless others feel this secretly too. These feelings are not signs of failure. They show our humanity. Healing together grows much stronger than healing in isolation. Support groups, where people share stories they once kept secret, create bonds that nurture real friendship. The struggles that were once seen as irreparable personal weaknesses are now understood as shared hardships, and the feeling of powerlessness from the past dissolves. Solidarity emerges, uplifting each other in our road to recovery. Of course, vulnerability develops like a muscle, and if you are unable to connect with others at the moment, seek professional assistance confidently. Therapists, counselors, and psychiatrists provide expertise on mental health. Think of them as the personal trainers of emotional muscles. If you feel that you've hit rock bottom, make an appointment today. Remember, each step matters. Commit to a growth mindset daily. Keep expanding your mental health literacy through books, courses, and talking to others without blame. Show compassion to the parts of you that feel lesser. We truly grow stronger by acknowledging, understanding, and appreciating our mental states first. This is where your healing journey begins. Let's delve deeper into what isolates men psychologically. I speak of the loneliness and disconnection sentencing so many to solitary confinement. Social isolation. The great English poet John Donne once said, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent." This still stands true. Though romanticized in media and culture, the image of the rugged loner subduing the wilderness reflects a shadow calling upon men, the siren song of isolation. Stoicism too upholds virtues of independence, self-mastery, and relying on inner resources for contentment. Yet when distorted into extremes, the ideals of rugged individualism corrode into a prison of alienation. Social isolation had reached such proportions that many today talk of a spreading pandemic of loneliness. It may seem ironic that loneliness and social isolation are at all-time highs while we live in such a hyper-connected world. Paradoxically, the more we engage with carefully crafted images on our screens, the lonelier we become, as authentic connections fade away. Despite our digital links, many struggle to find meaningful human bonds. This issue seems pronounced among men who contend with social norms discouraging emotional sharing. Behind masks of masculine invincibility often lies profound loneliness. Let's delve deeper, explore causes, impacts of loneliness, and see how Stoic wisdom offers remedies centered on the human experience. Social isolation is rising across age groups but is most acute after major life changes. College grads moving cities, retirees transitioning roles, veterans unable to relate civilian life. New places disconnect existing ties. Fear of judgment also prevents men to seek new connections outside of their perceived social lanes. Reluctant to share their emotional needs, men then withdraw, and soon chronic loneliness sets in. The corporate world, prioritizing professional personas and internal competition, has reinforced this isolation by discouraging authentic relating. The fancy offices that once signified achievement are now lonely, toxic places. The incessant backstabbing and red tape has weakened values of trust, communication, and compassion. Over 40% Americans report feeling lonely. Shockingly, this exceeds obesity levels, but there is less conversation about it. In the United Kingdom, isolation carries health risks on par with smoking 15 cigarettes a day, exceeding both obesity and alcoholism. Loneliness severely impacts men's physical health too. Rapidly it brews anxiety, depression, substance abuse, suicidal ideation, and self-harm. Socially isolated individuals face a 29% greater mortality risk over 6 years. Isolation starts earlier now. College and university. Not surprisingly, over 75% adolescents struggling with mental illness lack adequate social support. So how did we reach such rising disconnectedness despite living in hyper-connected times? More importantly, what leads out of this abyss into embraces of community? Enter the social teachings of Stoic philosophy, the recognition of collective human experience beyond superficial difference, of shared struggles and purpose whoever we are. Seneca addressed this noting, "Separation gives us the image of a whole, but shares in the universal law and is framed to unite again." Clearly, humans require social bonding not just as lifestyle luxury but basic need, no different than food, water, or sleep. Without connections to others, we start to starve emotionally and physically. As Epictetus declared, we are made for cooperation, like the hands, like the feet. Just as the mind and body operate in symbiotic unity, so too men thrive together through intimate connection. This interconnectedness gets obscured by constructs of identity, privilege, and constant social comparison. So where conventional norms isolate men by age, class, or ethnicity, Stoic calls for unconditional brotherhood. As Marcus Aurelius declared, constantly think of the universe as one living creature, embracing one being and soul. How can this Stoic insight around universal belonging help solve loneliness? Here are key practices to build social resilience even for those significantly disconnected or self-exiled. First, widen your aperture of human understanding. Beyond surface identities, contemplate the shared human experience. We all need to love and be loved. We all need to matter to someone. Relate to strangers like lost kin. Accept their hidden struggles so they can accept yours. From there, identify 1 to 2 close friends you genuinely trust and create a space for sharing personal stories. Healing begins by just listening without judgment. Ask them to share something emotionally meaningful from their past, perhaps a formative experience that shaped them. Ask thoughtful follow-up questions demonstrating your interest in their lives. Practice attentive listening without interruption. These small yet courageous gestures that reveal vulnerability can reorient us from isolation toward authentic bonding. If discomfort arises, remember this is merely resistance from the ego as it relinquishes control. To form or reform social bonds, you must let go of broken ones. If past beliefs or actions pushed you into isolation, courageously acknowledge harms and heal rifts from past prejudice. Let go of things you cannot change. Focus on the lessons and leading by example. Once your core relationships are reestablished, progressively pursue higher purpose activities. Expand your contributions to activities that enrich the collective welfare. Volunteering, community projects, or even teaching. Lend a hand to someone else suffering from isolation. What we nurture together grows. This is the Stoic promise of universal brotherhood realized, an ever-expanding circle of belonging beyond circumstance that leaves none stranded. Stoicism teaches us we are but social creatures. In fact, so does science. Togetherness triggers natural releases of oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, contributing to a positive and healthy mind. Remember, bridging divides is your power, if not at superficial levels, then at least by restoring human relations as fellow wayfarers in life's brief journey. Each of us empowered to pave this path from aching disconnection back into the embrace of our humanity. Now, here's a challenge for you. Every morning this week, reflect on your current friendships, how they are, where they can grow, and specific ways to strengthen them. Make plans and follow through. Remember, just like muscles get stronger through regular training, our social life gradually reactivates through dedicated practice. The seeds you plant this week will determine the harvest in the future. With courage and commitment, you can gradually turn the coldness of isolation into a warm community of friends. In the wise words of Stoic philosopher Epictetus, no great thing is created suddenly. Be patient and persistent. Health disparities. Despite medical progress, men still lag behind women in life expectancy, facing more preventable diseases and dying younger. The numbers speak for themselves. American men die on average 5 years sooner from non-disclosure of treatable conditions to healthcare providers. Why? Seeking help gets dismissed as effeminate by herd mentality. Real men must always appear strong. This antiquated vision of manhood prevents early healing intervention. Consequently, men visit doctors far less frequently than women, allowing disease to advance unchecked. In short, society still conditions men to project outward strength, powering through any struggles alone without displaying vulnerability. Seeking preventative health care or discussing concerning symptoms gets framed as weakness, leaving emerging issues unaddressed until conditions escalate into full-blown crisis. This culture of masculine self-neglect fuels disastrous ripple effects. Economic inequality have also worsened disparities, making it challenging for under-resourced men to consistently access health insurance, take time off hourly jobs for care, and cover treatment costs if uninsured. Financial instability and racial marginalization also contribute to chronic stress, speeding up biological aging and vulnerability. For the same reason, men engage substantially less in sustainable wellness regimens, such as nutrition, exercise, stress resilience, or sleep, compared to women. Years of unhealthy habits and untreated issues lead to increased risks of cardiovascular disease, cancer, hypertension, and diabetes. The statistics are clear. Men simply don't prioritize their health, often ignoring symptoms until it's too late. Did such constriction represent the ideals of dignity the Stoic masters exemplified? Far from it. Clearly, a philosophy of empowerment meant for all souls cannot discriminate half populations' well-being. So what went wrong translating Stoic principles over generations, creating this perversion masquerading as manliness? The Stoic masters sought elevating universal human virtue beyond divisions like gender or status. They knew wisdom and reason, common treasures transcending artificial barriers. Reviving this mindset can offer solutions that heal. When examining gender-based disparity and health outcomes, we discover a mirror reflecting much larger issues, the unconscious social training men undergo since childhood in what constitutes acceptable masculine behavior and risks of deviating. This underscores the urgent need for breaking stereotypes. Behind arrogant facades often lie terrified boys desperate for permission to display their wounds and hurts without rejection. Each mask wears down not only their true self, but their health. Pride takes over reason. Stoicism never advocated such delusions of invincibility. It valued authentic self-care and self-attending, beyond external validation. In fact, Stoicism is a call to normalize speaking vulnerably about our health challenges without stigma among peers, to break taboos and catch issues early to avoid greater suffering later. Stoicism contends that human excellence manifests through rigorous self-mastery, including mastery of and accountability for your physical health. Therefore, the Stoics would view health literacy and prevention as utterly aligned with men's natural roles as protectors and providers, rather than contradictory toward masculine archetypes. Making this mindset shift is easy. First, reconceive the mind-body connection holistically, rather than compartmentalized. While stretching, conduct mental scans, acknowledging areas requiring attention rather than ignoring signals until cascading into breakdown. Do nagging digestive discomforts demand dietary modifications? Would addressing sleep dysfunction restore depleted energy, hampering productivity? Surface-level symptoms often emerge from deeper terrain requiring courageous exploration. Then invest time and spirit to educate yourself on your health. Where attention dwells, energies empower. What nutritional components should you add to your meals? What exercise protocols align with your preferences, needs, and current fitness levels? Exactly how much sleep do I need to stop feeling tired? Think, educate yourself, and act. Start small. Even small ripples reshape oceans given time. From there, reorganize your life for a healthier life. You might realize you need to seek professional help. You might start a new diet or a new exercising routine. Consistency is key. The strength you find in owning your own destiny will inspire you to teach others. In the spirit of Stoic brotherhood, motivate yourself alongside motivating other men around you. Educate others constructively on managing their own pressures and expectations. Impart tools preventing trauma. Set the example. Educational attainment. In today's unequal world, quality education often remains restricted to the privileged few. Costs continue to rise, forcing debt dependence that hampers future options. Those unable to access or afford schools get left behind, stranded in poverty. Needed talents go unnoticed. Bright, eager minds never get an opportunity to realize their potential. Especially for marginalized communities, credentials from elite institutions stay out of reach. Public schools in their neighborhoods stay underfunded, and courses disconnected from career prospects. Many men from modest backgrounds face obstacles in getting the guidance they need for college and careers. And later in life, preconceptions dismiss these capable young minds based on bias. They find it hard to switch careers, learn what employers want, or develop their natural talents. It feels like either way, doors are closed to them. Can this status quo be challenged? Ancient wisdom from the Stoic philosophers offers cues. Their principles underline each person's equal capability for growth when given a chance. Stoics defined wisdom itself as the supreme virtue, not credentials chased to validate potential. Marcus Aurelius ruled the vast Roman Empire, while studying philosophy to govern humanely. Seneca taught openly at home. Epictetus was himself born a slave, yet gained freedom to become a revered teacher. Unlike modern obsession with standardized test scores, the Stoics focused on character building. In the Stoic school of thought, the root issues undermining ambition originate internally, through ingrained psychological constraints, rather than insurmountable institutional hurdles. Stoics valued progress through self-education. According to Marcus Aurelius, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, the perspectives and assumptions we carry shape behaviors more than any external limitations imposed upon scenarios. When educational pursuits feel fruitless, we perpetuate self-fulfilling prophecies through a resigned indifference. But, by consciously reframing inner narratives from helplessness to possibility, vast, new vistas unlock. William Ernest Henley captured this ethos memorably in his seminal poem Invictus, with the unwavering proclamation, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." Today, you can apply this mentality and open yourself to new educational possibilities. Beyond lip service to equality, Stoicism calls us to challenge internalized beliefs that abilities depend on pedigree. Without further ado, here are a few ways to get started in developing new skills. First, identify role models you look up to. Search and embrace their stories of resilience, the knowledge they impart. Now contemplate their journey and the role that self-education played. Start with Stoic philosophers. Epictetus was a slave, Marcus Aurelius was an orphan, both born outside of privilege. From this future victorious vantage point, boldly find inspiration to change your personal narrative. You now stand at a crossroads between internalized limitation or self-authorization, granting yourself permission to proudly pursue your own development. Allow this waypoint to redefine your trajectory going forward. Claim authority of your future. Then, you must relinquish yourself from passive escapism. Determinedly focus your energies into learning and educating yourself. Cultivate this discipline. Choosing to read a book over daydreaming of person glory is in your power. So seek wisdom and knowledge over credentials. Marcus Aurelius promoted the potency of directing full attention continually inward, rather than fixating outward where control lies minimally. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Find accountability mechanisms to hold you responsible for your own education. These could be study reminders, screen time locks, or even holding study groups with friends." The Stoics remind true wealth lies not in hoarding ideas or credentials to ourselves, but democratizing access so bright minds can blossom together. After all, the very nature of knowledge is to be transferred. Just like the resilient call of Stoic wisdom passed down generations, each man is equally equipped to share their truth. So leach and teach abundantly. My friends, our journey through the 10 modern challenges faced by men has come to an end. Over the last hour, we went on an epic adventure back through time, exploring powerful ideas from ancient Stoic wisdom that still offer incredible value in dealing with modern life's common struggles. We dug deep into how practicing Stoicism's core principles around self-mastery and overcoming emotions intelligently can help us deal with everything from loneliness or relationship problems to work overload and physical health. We've explored how Stoic wisdom helps us be responsible and healthy fathers too. On this path, we shared dozens of bite-sized Stoic reflections along with daily exercises tailored for you to apply this age-old knowledge in practical ways. It's no wonder renowned leaders from victorious gladiators to trailblazing activists fighting injustice have sworn by Stoic teachings through history. Now it is your turn. Create your own practice, but begin modestly. Perhaps this looks like starting a 10-minute breathing routine, or maybe it means scheduling a long overdue medical checkup. It could also mean opening a vulnerable dialogue with trusted friends. It's about baby steps, stacking and incrementally transforming your perspectives. Stick with these micro habits. Soon you'll organically make bigger leaps from inner stillness. Stay strong on the lifelong journey ahead. The choices you make in each fleeting, precious moment shape your destiny more than any external force possibly could. Exercise reason and courage boldly, reclaiming the direction of your story without hesitation. Remember, true wealth is nurtured inwardly, not chased outwardly. I thank you deeply for trusting me as your guide on this profound expedition of self-discovery. Let's stay connected. Subscribe, comment, share as we continue learning together. Go. Apply these lessons well, blending ancient insights with modern thinking. Onward, friends.